modify the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And then we should,
Ron, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 3, approve modify minutes, February 5th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Van Lampen, seconded by Ross, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Comments from the public. Anyone in the public want to speak this evening? Going once, going twice, sold. Child Support Director Lisecki, anyone?
she's out, but I can answer any questions or get back to you with any.
Okay, we don't have any motion on number 2. Treasurer report. Ray, come on up. Good to see you, sir.
Good evening, one and all. It's nice to be seen. Okay, I should have all received my report. Basically, since we were here last time, we finished the month of January. January 31st was, as you know, the date property taxes are due. There is a period that you go into the first 5 days, 6 days of February that you still can have timely cash payments. After that all occurs, there's a lot of reconciling and money gets sent from the county for the collections in January. The county sends it to the municipalities, and for January, then the county sends to municipalities for the first 6 days of February. Then the municipalities send it back to the county, their portion of it. So there's a lot of reconciling and shifting of funds. Then there's other things like occupational taxes that get settled to the county. As you can see, I just noted that the current amount of delinquent tax properties that are eligible for foreclosure is 103. It moves down slightly. Property tax receipts pretty flat from 25 to 26 at 20 million. The first part of February, we've got a little bit more of an increase than we've had in prior years, 6.6 million roughly to 3.7. Moving on to investment information, there's been no change in the federal rate lately. The next meeting is mid-March. At that meeting, it's not anticipated at this point for a rate reduction, which is good from our standpoint because the higher the rate stays, the more opportunity we can get to more interest income. I gave you a schedule about the rates of return. We're currently getting 3.55 from the bank, and I estimate 3.65 from the LGIP. It actually comes through at 3.69, so it's a little higher than that, which is good. Our last treasury note that we purchased was on February 2nd of 26, 5-year mature in 31. That rate was 3.79 at that point in time, which was a good time to buy because since then it's only been lower than that. It's currently hovering about, well, as of the 22nd, 3.634. It's slightly higher than that last few days. Items that are coming due for maturity, we have $1 million on February 25th that's invested at less than 0.51%. In March, we have 3.6 million that's coming due that's invested at less than 0.82%. And in April, we have about 600 grand coming due less than 1%. These ultimately, when we reinvest them, it'll be somewhere in excess of 3.5%, so there'll be a little bit of a pickup there. Courier service, that's been out for bid. The bids we received show a price increase. I've been doing analysis on it. I finished that today and made a recommendation after we got a few changes that to accept it. And it's like anything, we have a price increase. Just continuing to work on the treasurer's manual and the calendar of due dates, and we've got documentation. Any questions?
Ray, do you know offhand how much more we have invested at those rates below 1%?
Not offhand, but we're getting through most of it at this point in time.
Okay, so once we get through April, we're gonna be through.
Well, there still will be some trickling in,
Okay.
but it'll be less frequent.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk?
Statistically, pretty flat marriage license, 106 thus far in the year versus 118 of last year. Passports is down substantially, 303 in comparison to last year. We're at 57 for 26. Returned today from Madison, where I participated in the Wisconsin County Constitutional Officers Conference as well as the Wisconsin County Clerks Association. A dual track scenario, quite interesting. Civrus is the software that we use for marriage license. Rod uses it for various other things. They're going to a new system called WAVE, Wisconsin Application of Vital Events, and that'll be going live July 1st, right in the middle of marriage season, so we'll see how that all plays out, but the present system will be a backup. And it was quite an interesting conference. UWGB provided a workshop pertaining to multi-generational communication. So as a baby boomer, it was quite interesting, the communication collaboration amongst the different groups, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, that kind of thing. So, very good. That's all I have.
Does the constitutional officer group, because it would include treasurers as well as everybody else?
Ravens.
Do they ever take a position to go to the state on the partisanship thing with the constitutional officer positions, which seems to be kind of
I've never
ridiculous?
seen anything from the WCCO, but as the Clerks Association, I'm part of the legislative committee. And, our chairperson, who lives in Rock County, and so they speak on behalf of many bills. We track all the bills. That depends on what's before us. Usually it's more election related from our perspective,
Yeah.
our perspective.
But nothing requesting that the Constitution be changed to.
No, I've never seen anything in my 5 years.
All right, that's 3, 4, admin and human resources.
It's the entrance. Yeah. You can see it now. If there's anything in my report you'd like to talk about, please let me know. If you notice, the contingency fund is lower this year, and that's as a result in the 2026 budget. We had to come up with $1.3 million for the sheriff's department shortfall for the jail medical. That was a reduction from there. So if you have been keeping an eye open on that, that is the reason why it's lower. In addition, if you look at, under the IT report, we're gonna talk about ADA compliance. And as part of that, we're gonna have to do some substantial changes. Not too worried about the website, but it's the process. The agenda management is going to be very problematic. And Ian's gonna do a quick presentation on everything that has to be done, just so you fully understand what it is. But as part of that, we have to look at how we do the agendas and agenda management. So I'm hoping that you guys would be okay with, if you look at action items, including proposed resolutions, ordinances, and budget adjustments, really what you're doing is you're approving the legal bills and you're approving all other bills. We could move the legal bills into all other bills, so it's just one item that gets approved, which will kind of help cut down on, the redundancy. The good with that is it will do the redundancy. The bad is you'll have to dig through to see what the legal bills are. Clerk counsel could also probably just provide a quick oral report on the bills that he's working on. Usually the legal bills correspond with the big topics that are happening. The legal bills should be in there. So for instance, if you look at your legal bills, what you'll find is there's some funds for town of Holland that you know that there's a continuing thing through Dean, so that's a legal bill. Obviously, you're kind of already aware that that's happening. And there's a few other things that you should be aware of that's happening. And it's just an itemized list of what the bills are. But those bills do show up in the other county bills. Obviously, if you wanna think about it, it's no big deal, we can talk about it later, but that's probably something that we're gonna have to change sooner or later, just to streamline our processes. Unfortunately, the county clerk is going to have a significant amount of work because this is our process.
Of your obedience to Mr. Clerk.
And it's not me. It's the facts. Yeah, that's, nothing of significance. There's not much in the budget adjustment logs. Closing year, year end, we're still working on that. We obviously would carry forward, I can talk about it a little bit later, but nothing of substance right now, I think the main event is the IT department, so.
Alright, any questions from
Any other questions?
Mr. Weininger?
This is kind of silly, but last month, or maybe it was the month before, we had, I think it was last month, you had a, incident in here about the gentleman that was a human services,
I
employee.
did reach out to the clerk, I haven't received anything
Okay.
back.
So-
I can follow up with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I see, Mr. Kurtzel tomorrow,
Yeah.
so. I can follow up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you would do that, you would probably ask the county executive to do that, generally they don't, or you'd have to do it under the county board, they don't do, any special presentations anymore, it's always under those two areas.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Yep. And then the only other thing is the committee did ask about, cash handling in the county and what departments collect what, and whether or not, we should look at ending that. I do have a list, and then when the pickups are, but obviously because there's substantial large amounts, and some of the departments, it's probably not better to notify the public, when they're doing cash collections, and how often and how much. I do have that for you. If you'd like to talk with me after, so you can do a communication, I'd be happy to share that with you individually.
Thank you.
And that's just a follow-up for us.
Alright, IT departmental report, Clerk Counsel, anything to add to what's in the packet?
No, the bug tussle, we, obviously with the frost in the ground, you really can't, be doing a lot of construction. They can run some fiber through some of the conduits, we're gonna restart up those meetings, next month. This month. So we'll be fine tuning, the packet that's before you. It does need a little work in some areas.
We're supposed to be completely done when?
I forgot the date for the final lighting. I can provide that to you next month. No, it should be a little bit, it should be sooner. If you look at the map, a good chunk of it's completed. There's some areas that they still have to run the fiber through the conduit. It's really up in, North, Supervisor Dante's district. And then there's a little section, probably, I would say, in Supervisor Gannon's district. But the most of the areas, been fairly ran through. We still gotta connect to a few of our towers.
All right, any questions on month hustle? Moving on, 5BI update regarding open meetings.
So if you don't mind, before we do that, under the IT director's report, could I share with you kind of the process on ADA that we're gonna have to go through for the packets? And with that, I'd like to bring up the chief information officer. Ian?
Yep.
He'll plug it in, turn the TV on, and we'll have to have those on for the next part for open meetings anyway.
Okay.
So for the ADA compliance, I think we're going to be in a good state for our website itself. I think that's the easy part. The problem is all the documents we have on, we can look in the past and not update those and go through this process, as long as it's not a form that's currently needed or that it's interactive that folks need to do today. There are some exemptions, but we are very paper heavy, so we do a lot of PDFs and Word documents and forms. All those really have to be updated, and every time we do it, we gotta go through this process that Ian's gonna show you. In addition, these packets, the way it works, everything on here has to be ADA compliant. So if there's a photo or a picture, it actually has to describe it in detail. Now, if you look at, did anyone see the PD&T agenda? It was this thick. So each one of those pages, Ian will go through what you have to do on each one of those pages. I apologize, I'm gonna step back for a second as Ian walks you through this, and then I'll be back for the open meeting section.
Oh, sure thing, I'll take care of it.
Sure. So I'm gonna walk you through a brief demonstration. This is something I did for department heads and other people throughout the county to walk them through the process of this. For my purposes here, I have created an incredibly simple document. You can see that's just one page, just some common things we're gonna see. The process involves both the initial creation of the document in Microsoft Word and then changes we're gonna need to make to that document when we create a PDF before it goes out onto the web. So the first thing is that the document needs to have a title. This is different from the title that you would normally see as far as like the file name or anything like that. It involves coming in here to the metadata and just naming the document separately here. And then tags aren't strictly required, but it is a best practice. So that is something that would tell someone who's not necessarily able to see the document the kind of things that it refers to. Then we have an image here. All images need to have alt text. In this case, the image is just a logo, which we could normally just say logo for Brown County NIT. If it were something more complex, we need to give an accurate description of everything in the image. So, for example, if it were a picture of a cat playing with yarn, and you say there's an orange cat in a field of grass playing with a ball of red yarn. If it's something like a map, I need to describe the distances and relationships between the things that the map is trying to show. Maps are probably going to be one of the most complicated things when you talk about board packets and easements and things like that. It's very difficult to describe in text accurately, but it's something we have to do. So for the purposes of our demonstration, I'm just going to say this is the IT department logo, but again, if it were a more complicated issue, we would need to more accurately describe it. There's an exception for items that are strictly decorative, like a color gradient or something like that, but if it is of any substance, it has to be described. Images of text are highly discouraged. If an image includes text that is of value, meaning that it's not something simply like a logo, we not only need to describe that text in the alt text, but the document itself needs to have the same text verbatim in the document. So if it were, say, an image of a flyer for a picnic with times and things and all that, well, text would have to describe that, but additionally in the text of the document itself, I would need to list that same information, so that a screen reader or something can pick that up. Otherwise, I just have some demonstration text and some areas where I can put form fields in, because that's something that's very common when we talk about documents that we put on the web, a lot of forms that people need to fill out for various things. So from here, we're going to save it as an Adobe PDF. This does require our staff then to have Acrobat licenses rather than just using the free like Microsoft Print PDF. It's not capable of saving the things that we did here in a compliant way, and then we're going to have to make additional changes, so we do need to have those professional licenses. So I'm going to save that here. And then it's going to open Adobe Acrobat for me. Since we're doing the forms here, I'm just going to do that real quick to provide some demonstration. So we are going to have to prepare form. Change how this works. So we're going to create a text field. Normally, we would give the text field a name, which we're going to do here as just default text demonstration. I also need to come into the properties then of that text box, make sure it has a name, make sure it has a description that'll show if someone hovers over it. And I'm going to do the same thing for the signature field. Okay, now we're done with that. So our next step here is going to be prepare it for accessibility. From here, I'm going to run the accessibility checker. It will go through the document and tell me what are problems that need to be fixed. So we're going to see logical reading order needs a manual check. We're going to see color contrast needs a manual check. So there are requirements around the color contrast to make sure the document is viewable by someone with color blindness or other visual issues. And then logical reading order is for assistive technologies to make sure that the PDF is labeled in such a way internally that it will read them to people in an order that makes sense and not jump around. Obviously, the software doesn't know what makes sense to a human necessarily, so this is a manual process for this one. So to do that, we are going to go back here and prepare for accessibility. And where's my oops, that's not letting me change my word. Just updated this one. So we have to skip that portion. Now we'll go on to the issues that it did flag here for sure. So we have tag annotations failed. It is telling me that this signature box is not flagged correctly. A lot of these are going to be unique to the document. There is a brief thing in here where I can click to explain, and it will do its best to bring you to what needs to be changed here. But in this case, what we need to do is look at the tags and this. I got rid of my shortcut, unfortunately. We'll skip over, but that is a manual process to fix the tags on these. And then the same thing is going to apply to the form. So We have tagged element for the signature box, tagged form for the text signature box. And that's telling me here that it did not like the alternate text here, that it did not care. So we can hit fix on that and add the manual text here. And then once we have fixed everything, then we can save the document again. And we'll be all set. So that is the process for this single page document. For larger documents with more figures, more complex issues, it's obviously going to be significantly more complicated. Things like report packets are probably be among the most complicated things for us to do, which is why we're looking for alternative solutions of moving things into different locations to avoid having
So just think of doing this manually for every document that comes through your agendas. And then the problem is if the internal staff do this, when they send it to the county board office, it doesn't save that way. So when you compile all the documents, they have to go back and do them. So the only really good alternative is to find some mechanism to automatically do it using AI. So we're in that process right now. We did talk about the needs, which will segue into our next discussion. But unfortunately, this is probably going to lead to some creativity and changing of processes. So this may be a very big pain point, but we're going to be very limited in what we're going to do. So if I see the audit department start cutting out the additional stuff they just throw in there because of this. And that's an unfortunate reality we may have to deal with. Now, in addition, as a side note, we do have money in the budget to provide all 26 supervisors with laptops, so hopefully we can start to transition to the digital age and email you this stuff and it'll be available, which may be a different process, but if we put on a website, this all has to be done manually right now until another alternative can be fixed. I asked Ian to reach out to a lot of the larger counties, unfortunately, so not all aware of it, and haven't started the process yet, so sooner or later the industry's gonna have to figure pieces out, and I'm sure that there's some are. Anything else I'm missing in, or that you think that would be helpful for them to know?
And it is the big part of this is this only applies to content that we put on the website. So it's because we put the agendas and everything on the website that they fall under that. Right, it doesn't apply to our internal documents.
Or we send them to you directly, that's
Yeah.
different. Now, if some of the golden records, those we can make those available, we're good. It's just, we're trying to walk you through, making sure that people can have as much as possible, but making sure that our staff just don't spend a whole day trying to put together a package. Otherwise, we just can't function, unfortunately. And unfortunately, right now, the largest burden of this is going to be falling on the county clerk's office because it's the packets and agendas, and it's because of the way we've done and conducted businesses, and we're very paper heavy, and always have been since I've been here. But that's always been a board decision, but when a county is, we may not be able to do that much longer. So there will be changes, and board members may not like it, but I think sooner or later we're gonna be forced to do this to kind of streamline and, or, to transition more to digital approach. But we're still working through it, we'll be as flexible as possible, we understand the board still controls things, and we'll do what we can to accommodate the wishes of the board, but I think sooner or later we're gonna be there.
So I have just a couple questions. You said when people send the information over to create the packet, if they were to do all of this work and send it over, it doesn't stick?
Once once you combine it into one PDF, you have to start over. Because the reading order, for example, it doesn't know anymore, you have to reassign all that kind of stuff.
Okay. But
So some of it does, but
Okay.
not all of it, yeah.
And going to I live in the dead zone with no fiber, So getting that packet, whether it comes electronically or you print it, is the same information. Correct? Like what I get here
Right,
would be
right,
the same
okay.
thing you'd email.
So supervisor
right?
quoted right now today, yes. In the
Okay.
future, no, maybe not. I'm kinda giving you a foreshadowing that.
That's okay,
things
I'm
are
just
going
trying to put the
change.
pieces together to make sure that it all makes sense. And then the professional licensing for like PDF, Acrobat, how many licenses would we need to get in that professional? Would it be everybody in the building? Do we know what the cost might be for that?
It's not gonna be everybody, and it's obviously gonna be a workflow change for departments, so we're still figuring that out. It's really gonna be, because again, this only affects stuff that we're posting to the web. So a lot of those people already have those professional licenses, but not everyone, so.
Well, most people, like the office managers, a bunch of people, they have that tool because they have to have that tool, but there may be some that do not. And part of the process over the last, month or so, 2 months, we've been, having educational seminars, we've been walking it through, talking it through, we're looking at some exemptions. This has just been, we're just going through the process right now. Today was really just to kind of let you know that this is kind of a bigger deal than, probably what we originally thought, especially if we have to do a manual. I think we should be able to be compliant on the date. The problem where it comes down to is not really the website. The problem is all the documents we have and produce. We gotta make sure it's done in a way. We did talk with, open meetings, and I know that there may be some other folks out there that may have some tools for us to help us in this, and it may make things a little better where, you get an email and all that stuff will be in there. They have some AI stuff that can help generate the stuff. They're still gonna require some checking, but it won't be as labor intensive.
So I'm just looking at like the cost that's gonna come out of this by the time that we're done. What is the added cost that's gonna need to go into each department's budget to get these, cause those licenses are not cheap.
Yep.
They're a few $100s annually per
But if
seat.
you have 10, that's.
Well, it's more, it's probably, we're very extremely large organization.
Right.
But the nice thing here is the federal mandate, we don't have a choice.
Right, you don't, but yeah.
I'm gonna cut something else,
Right.
just not that.
Like I said, I think for the most part, most of these people already have these licenses, and otherwise it'll come out of their office supplies or wherever.
We'll figure it out. We have to. There's just no choice.
No, I know we have to, it's just, how is that gonna affect the budget?
No, it's not, I mean,
We don't know yet, but.
I had to cut 100,000 just to, fund, out of your contingency, just to fund, the sheriff's annual shortfall.
Can I ask a question of Court Counsel Hemery? Have you had any communications with other court counsels from other counties to see, like, as Ian said, like, the conversations with other counties, they seem like some of them are behind the eight ball, they're not really doing as much. Have you had any conversation with other counties to be able to say what their plans are, how they're kind of navigating
I
this?
followed on, we have a listserv for
Mhm.
different court councils, will chime in on different topics. There hasn't been a lot on it. I know a lot seem to be taken off guard from what I can tell.
Sure.
I imagine your counties like, Dane and, Milwaukee, they're probably a little ahead of the game. Your big ones, your small counties, I don't know. Now there are different
Levels.
requirements depending on the size of your county, so everything we're telling you is based on our county. Now, we're one of the big counties, so a lot of the ones that will chime in on listserv are real small counties. They have different requirements, different issues than us, so it's not something that we've been working with other court councils on. Most of this is technical, and as you can see, it's gonna be, quite a commitment of time just to take one document, a resolution. How do you describe the signature block on it? What if it's to approve of an easement and there's an attachment that's like a photo or a drawing? How are you describing those? And when you think of the amount of contract work and it's gonna be something else. So initially, basically we take things down and then we start adding back only compliant documents is the idea.
So then, can I ask this question? In like your legal opinion, if something is not completely compliant, where does that fall? How does that? Or-
I think should we receive a complaint, you know, once we hit our deadline sometime next month and we have this up, should we receive a complaint? It's my belief that as long as we can show we're actively working towards meeting these standards, I don't think we'd get hit, financially hard, but you know, there's never guarantees. We've got to do our best good faith efforts to make this work. I think the main thing is, you know, to honestly be working hard at complying with the WCAG 2.1.
So, two paths though, right? One is, a complaint with, and we really should be doing probably go to talk about specifics in closed session, but, so two paths. One's the Department of Justice Enforcement. They usually, you know, that's a long process. They give you a lot of time to work through it. There's also individual.
If we actually
individuals-
have an individual complaint, as Chad's indicating, that gets filed in court, and unlike the feds, who might say, well, I see you're trying hard, continue what you're doing, an individual civil suit, then, you know, it's not gonna be the same thing.
So,
By that, you mean somebody just from the general public
Yeah.
being upset that our website is not.
Right.
and for the record, just to be clear, our goal is to be compliant.
Yes.
But it should be all compliant, and again, it's just gonna look a little bit different, and it's gonna be a lot harder to get a single page of paper to be attached to any. But that's the rules.
That,
Yes, thank you.
So, help me understand, so this document right here, which obviously is quite complicated. So are you saying if this is delivered to us electronically, then you don't have to?
If it's delivered to you electronically and we're not making it public, then yes, it is open recordsable, but if we're just gonna send it to you electronically, yes, it's not required. If we post it on the site as part of a packet, then yes, that has to be ADA compliant. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
It's its presence on the website that demands compliance.
But you don't have to post all of this stuff on the website.
No, but this is, Dave can
That's
jump
correct,
in.
so the notice requirements, for, open meetings, you need to send it to your official newspaper, so whenever you're publishing notice or something like an agenda, you send that to your official newspaper. That's requirement one. Requirement two is you send it to any media outlets that have in the past requested to have agendas sent to them. So our board office has a list, here's all the media that's made requests, they wanna get agendas. And the third one, you have to post it in a public place, easily accessible to the public. That's typically outside the county board office on the bulletin board. Those are your three required postings. The DOJ and Attorney General's office also recommend posting it on the website, but that is not a requirement.
So we can just post our agendas and basically all of the documentation behind doesn't have to end up on the website?
Anything that's actionable, I would say has to be part of that agenda.
But if it's an informational piece,
You could,
we can receive it for informational purposes via electronic transmission, but then you don't have to put that document on the.
I would say potentially, but I would wanna look at something before I say yes. Just to double check something.
And the idea, Mr. Chair, is if we're posting, if we're putting something on a website or on social media or anything electronically that's public facing, that has to be compliant. But internal communications, we don't have to do this with all the documents. If I'm sending you an email, I'm not having that out to the public. We could get a public records request, I would provide the email, but we're not posting that. When you post it, and Ian, I believe I'm correct here, it's when you actually post it, so it's publicly accessible, that's when it needs to meet these compliance standards.
Yeah, but then it leads into a larger discussion, is what do you make public versus what you don't?
This can take you down lots of different.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to
paths.
understand that, I mean, from what you're saying is as long as you don't post a document like this, then we're okay, but it seems rather
Well, then the question is-
counterproductive from a public standpoint of we're
Yes.
providing
So-
information, which is now going to be
Yeah.
like, well, sorry, we're not gonna,
Yeah, so the
you
dir-
want this, you're gonna now have to dig.
Yeah, so the director of admin's report, we put that in our
Yeah.
ruling budgetary, all that stuff. The question is, I can have a director's report, but then the question is what's all included there because of the public notice, right? Because you gotta tell them what's all there. Part of it is budgetarily, how am I doing? Well, if you take that out and you guys get it, you guys gonna be able to talk about it. I think those are some of the questions that we gotta flush out if we go down that road. The goal is to figure out a compliance method to allow for it, but I'm saying that sooner or later, if we can't get there with the additional stuff, and if the clerk's office doesn't have the staff to actually create all of these documents, because these packets are really thick, I think we may have to explore some areas. We're not there yet to say we're not doing it or we're gonna do that. I think we have to go through this process first, in short order, by the way.
And I just have one other question. So historical documents, so just looking at, again, from the county board's perspective, all of the agendas and minutes that have been posted out there forever.
So my opinion is we can keep those.
Okay.
The ordinances, I believe, would have to be updated. If there's a form, even if it's an old form that we still use, that would have to be updated. But all the old historic stuff, like all the old budgets, we can leave them. Anything moving forward needs to be changed. Or if it's a document like our ordinances that are interactive, that are, I shouldn't say interactive, that are available and people will use them to look at what we are currently following, that would have to be.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the line.
No, we don't have to take down what's.
No.
Okay.
So originally, we were thinking we would have to, we looked into it, I actually read some of the CRF on this, and it allows for that exemption.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to verify, we're not just working on our website, stuff would be any social media is included in this?
Everything.
Everything, so each department's social media has to have all of this too, right?
Hold on, yes.
And everybody's starting to work on it?
It better be.
The other thing is, I hear a lot about, if you email it to us, then you don't need to do all this. If you send it to us in paper, then you need to do all this, but then you don't unless it's on the website. So, like, you can verify
So,
that?
yeah, so let's, I'm gonna explain it a little differently. So what it is, okay, if we're going to take a packet and we're gonna make that packet available to the public on the intranet, when we send that to you, it has to be in compliance. Now, if we just put an agenda on the intranet and it doesn't have all the supplemental stuff, and we just email that to you, that would not be required.
Whether you email or mail it, would not be
Yeah,
right? Only
as long as we don't
on-
post it. If we post it, then it is. But then the question becomes is what's required to be on that agenda and what's not required to be on that agenda. If it's required to be on the agenda and backup document, or let's say it's an easement, it has to be on there, we have to go through this process. If it's basically, I don't know, a good example, something that's, doesn't have to be part of it, because you're not gonna vote on it, it's just informational, and we're not gonna put it on the agenda, then not, but then the question is, if you put it on the agenda and you start discussing it, well, that's probably, then, that's what I have to flush out with Dave to see whether or not we really can do it at that level. Right now, I would have reservations and concerns over it.
And then all of the forms that people use currently on the website are being updated.
All of them have to be updated. A lot of staff are already working on
Yeah,
this.
that-
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a shock. And I think people kind of got over the shock and now they're in the midst of, oh yeah, we gotta get this done. We only have 2 hours to do it. Our requirement deadline is in advance of the April deadline.
Thank you.
One quick question, Chad. Who's the main force, in other words, initiating all the change? The federal or the state?
It was the federal government. It was for ADA, it was back in almost a decade ago, and then they promulgated rules, listened, made comments, and then now the final rule was issued, and it's been for a while now it's just, part of it. We're large enough to be on that first tranche. Next year's basically everyone else. So by the time we get our stuff, there's probably gonna be good technology for the next group to come in. So, that's just the way it works.
this is along with us, included. So any permitting that you wanna put on, or that you wanna fill out the forms and all of that, all has to be, because it's on the internet, and you need to, file the permit forms, and
That is
all
correct.
that would have to be.
Yeah, that is correct, Supervisor.
Great for transparency.
It's gonna be, right? We've had this internal discussion, it's just, there's good intent, and then there's what the actual repercussions are gonna be, and you're gonna have staff not wanting to share stuff because they don't wanna, like, do all that, it's gonna be human nature. And I did text, Principal, he hasn't got back to me yet, so.
Alright, anything else on this?
I guess one last question on it, but we're looking at open meeting to kind of help us, I think, with this a little bit. Have you looked into are there any other companies? I gotta believe that there's corporations out there that saw this coming, and were like, oh, we can get out here first and help a ton.
Yes, so I have talked to some other entities about what they're using. I do have a couple other I have a meeting with one next
Okay.
week to look at as far as document remediation specifically.
And did they have any type of price tag out there for you of any sort? I mean,
So I would, at this scale of our organization, no one has pricing publicly available.
Sure.
It's all gonna be negotiated.
Gotcha.
So again, Supervisor Thompson, the goal is to find technology to help us.
Yes.
And if we can't get there, then it's going to be us manually doing it, working with the clerk to figure out what his requirements are going to be. But this, turnaround of doing a resolution in like a day or two is just gonna be non-existent now. I mean, we're looking almost a month out through the process, which is good and bad. And then it's also the volume. So if we can't find the technology piece, then there will be a change in the flow and function of the board operation. Normally, I've always stayed out of that, whether it was open meetings or videotaping, board function, that's very clear that that's your role, your job, I'm not to interfere in that. But because of this, we're probably going to have to make changes per the county code.
do you need an RFI, RFP, RFA, BCD, EFG?
Nothing right now.
Nothing of that nature?
No, and if we do it, we can do that administratively, unless it's an RFP, which I don't think we would want to do in this, because that would be problematic.
Okay. Thank you.
Guess we'll see what comes.
The supervisor
There's various forms of communication, and some things visually cannot be explained verbally very easily, so it's kind of.
You may wind up with a bunch of oral reports. At the end of the day, you may see department heads saying, I can't possibly take everything I have. It's like my staff turnover report for each one of those, for each department.
So our graphs will not consist of your arm, and you'll just be doing like this.
We're about
Yeah.
here, not here or here, but
The state of
here.
Wisconsin.
No, it's very unfortunate, it's really not coming, it's just something we have to be in compliance with.
Alright,
This
thank you,
one
sir.
Here, but here. Okay, so if I could on open meetings, which was the next item,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. So we did have a number of conversations, a couple separate conversations. One was regarding the contract, language, what the terms. We've kind of worked through that. There is one little area that we gotta ferret out, so there's still an ongoing process. I thought it was a little bit cleaner, but, two attorneys pointed something out to me that we have to address, we won't talk about right now. The second part is Chad Trice, obviously, they've been working on this as a new product offering, they've been trying to partner with us, to do this. He's run it through a number of different reiterations and cleaning, so what he did send us was the latest version they had. As part of that, you will, as we play it, there are some geographic things like Kewaunee County. If someone says Kewaunee, they're probably not gonna spell it right, so there's a tool where you can enter those in, and supervisors' names, some of them, they're kind of interesting. A lot of that stuff can be cleaned up. What you're gonna find from the tape is you know, if someone's not pronunciating very well, obviously sometimes I have a very thick accent, and some others do, and sometimes it doesn't always pick that up. So it's how you pronunciate, it's how you have camera. You're gonna pick up some questionable images, and we gotta go and look at the old one. But I think regardless, if you do like what we do see here tonight, I think regardless is we're gonna have to run a full one that's live, as opposed to us recording it and giving it and having it added. The goal would be, for Chad was gonna work with, he's gonna call you Supervisor Moynihan, Chairman, sorry, I'm going back for the last decade. But on his computer on the board floor, he has a button you can be able to hit record on. It'll automatically record it. It will be processed automatically, so we know it's not, it's not like a 6-7 month process. It'll be available right after the meeting, and then we can look at it, and then we know what we're gonna get. So that's probably the next step after this, and that'll give us some time to figure out the rest of the contract negotiations. In addition, he's working on the AI record stuff with us too. But right now, he's saying this is probably our best bet. And again, this might be some of our equipment, and it might be, you know what, I probably should just be quiet and just play it. So as you look at this, what I'd like you to do, and this is hard because I had to do it a couple times, is we'll bring it up in full screen, and then we'll just do the closed captions. So the CC next to the volume. So just try not to pay attention to like Pat saying the words. Just read the words and listen to what he's saying, just so you can kind of see the accuracy. And then obviously you're going to see a lot of camera movement, and it's not going to be on. But again, it's whatever is being spoken is what's being recorded. Some of that could be worked out, and then some of the lag maybe because of the connection we have, or maybe the video we gave, we haven't been able to figure that piece out yet. We just got this, was it yesterday? So we didn't really have a lot of time to dig in this. We're working on the contracts. So with that, I am going to exit for a few more minutes, and Ian will take care of you folks. And it's about 50 minutes, so enjoy, and we'll be back.
Can we turn off the lights and get some popcorn?
I told you I was gonna bring popcorn.
Oh,
What's the total length? 450?
no, it's a little less than that. When you get to the start of the meeting, Ian, why don't you just bring him to the start of the meeting?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
It was only about a 30-minute meeting. It was a really quick meeting with not a lot of debate or not a lot of.
Let's start at the beginning, and then if the board members wanna jump ahead to certain sections, we
Well,
can certainly do that as well, but.
So again, part of it is just looking at the accuracy.
Yeah.
There's, some folks kind of have a stronger accent. I wouldn't say accent, but just like enunciation. Thank you.
Call to order a meeting of Brown County Board, Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. We're gonna start out with the vice chair, the invocation. God, we ask that you watch over and protect our veterans, men and women in law enforcement, our laborers, educators, and civil servants. Dear Lord, we bless this meeting. Give us the wisdom, discernment, and strength to act on behalf of the citizens of Brown County. Amen. Please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep. Hey Ron, can you hit present? Thank you. All right, opening roll call. Got everybody?
Yep.
All right, we'll drop down to number 5, adoption of the agenda. All right, Jacobson, Dino. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye? Any nays? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 6, adoption of the minutes of the Brown County Board meeting of December 17th, 2025. All right, Borowski? Wolf? All right, any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor, aye? Any nays? All right. Announcements by supervisors. If you have an announcement, feel free to push your button and we'll call on you. And by the way, if there's anybody in the back that is wishing to talk during public comment, there's some forms to fill out on the back table there. Just fill them out and leave them on the table and we'll pick them up. Thank you. All right, Supervisor Lund.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're very low on blood supplies, and the Red Cross said that there's 35% below what they would normally have in blood supplies, so it's very critical that people that can give blood go out and do that, and they can look for blood drives on redcross.org. So,
thank you, sir. Supervisor Dantine.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. Just like to invite you all to the St. Thomas and Counsel Business Fest on January 31st at 8 from 3 to 9. It's always a great time, and there's all kinds of fun games, and it's our yearly fundraiser for the year, so you're invited out to 8. Thank you.
Can you stop
Thank
for
you.
a second? I just want to
Anybody
say,
else?
I just want to say it's damn impressive. Pick that up that well, because just listening to it's kind of, you can't even get that out of it. You can continue now.
What it said, a little impressive.
All right, drop down to number 8, late communications. All right, Supervisor Lund. You're good.
okay, yeah. Late communication for PD&T, request speed limit change on County M, starting north of the intersection of Anston Road to Autumnwood Trail. I'd like to see a speed study undertaken and the possibility of reducing the current speed limit of 45 miles per hour to 35 in the village of Smallcup.
PD&T? It is. All right. Supervisor Van Dyke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 communications. These are from myself and Supervisor Kellner. First is request that the Brown County Board of Supervisors consider a table of organization change, eliminating the unfilled internal auditor position from the Board of Supervisors departmental budget and transferring related costs to the contracted services account within the Board of Supervisors departmental budget. Executive Committee?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one is request that the Brown County Board of Supervisors consider a table of organization change, creating a meeting and communications coordinator position within the Board of Supervisors departmental budget, paid for from savings generated from the elimination of the internal auditor position. Specific responsibilities, required hours, and compensation requirements to be determined. Executive Committee.
Do you remember?
Okay.
So, I don't mind if we go through all this. I did have the opportunity to see this video ahead of time, and I went through and I actually created this sheet to say, these are the things that I found wrong, and you'll see that a lot of them that you probably saw just now are already things that I wrote down. There's some things that I think we could jump ahead to so we don't have to watch the whole thing unless you want to, that I think are a little bit more of a concern, but I think some of it is to do with the closed captioning, some of it is to do with, I think, the way it was recorded, that there's some stutter, that I think gets a little bit more concerning near about 21 minutes and 45 seconds in, and then it happens quite a few times after that. And I think if I had to say, when I was talking to Mr. Weininger and I was talking to Mr. Flint about this, those were kind of the most concerning areas, but if you want, we can go through this whole thing. I don't mind either.
Can we go for the first step?
Yeah.
Why don't you jump to like 17 or 30?
Okay.
Couple of things
As he's looking at it, you'll notice too, the closer people are to the microphone, like John, yours came out very well, and you were close. As you watch his video throughout, you can tell even, a little distance, it can really affect the accuracy. So part of it'll be training us, to speak one at a time, to speak into the microphone, to take turns, not talk over each other, those type of things. That'll all help improve this as we go along and get used to it, I think.
Sooner the better. Yep, getting better by when? Tomorrow would be great. It will be 18 minutes. We'll get that for you. 10th and 11th, that'd be great. That sounds right. Is that right? Sounds right. You wrote that one.
Get on the guy.
10/11. Yep, so we get down there on Sunday, it was Sunday night, on the 9th, 10th, and then come back on the 11th after it's done. So, if anybody's interested, contact the clerk, and then if you haven't done it before, feel free to call and we can kind of tell you how it works down there. So we'll give you each hotel room and things like that, so, please let us know. All right. Now, you're all waiting for a report of the county executive.
Good evening. This will be relatively quick and brief. I want to reiterate.
The reason why I feel like it's our software side and not something that Open Meeting did is because in the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see that it's recorded by Sarah through Teams. And whenever there is a stutter, her stuff turns, or that light turns off in the left-hand corner, meaning that the microphone stops. I think that means that it's freezing the whole system.
I do also have the original recording if we want to just compare real quick. So that was what, at the 18?
That is at 1847.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Are you talking about like our microphones? How if you don't continue to speak, they kind of shut down?
No, so
until you
like
speak
in that
again?
video just now, like the video actually stopped.
The one from them froze. It's got a few sections where it just freezes up, stutters a little, and then it resumes.
But like our mics currently our mics down there.
There's a time coming up that Supervisor Evans' microphone is turned off and you can hear him trying to talk out, but his microphone is turned off. I think we should do that more often, but that's not for this part.
Yeah, if we can do that. But no, I mean our microphones do, if you pause, they like shut down.
Sometimes they'll turn off. And also what will happen is if you're talking and then Mr. Moynihan's talking and then I talk, there is in the system, I believe, like a superseding order of whose microphone actually goes on. And a lot of times what I noticed when Mr. Evans was talking is the lectern where the staff usually talks, that must supersede whatever the supervisors have, because every once in a while his voice will stop actually talking because that microphone is what's picking up sound and he's not close enough to it to have some.
Could I make one other observation? Whenever you log the votes as well for like first and second, I think something about that sometimes turns the mics off too. When you log like the first and second and then it goes to the next item, I think that'll turn a mic off if someone is still talking. I don't know if that's connected or not, but I noticed that at times.
So Pat, is that something we can ask, we should probably find out, because I mean on the control of those mics, I'm assuming we've got some, or maybe control over how those function. I would think that you could, I mean, if you turn on the mic, I would hope that it could stay turned on without that cutting in and out until you push a button and move it to somebody else. So I think we have to have better mic control, or somebody look into better mic control.
I know for the public speakers, if they're not on, even if he turns them on, they don't come on. You actually have to do it, and some people accidentally hit it, and then it doesn't turn on, so they have to re-hit it. So part of it's like human error.
Yeah, because they're on when, because I set them up before.
Yeah, but if they hit them, they turn them off, or they're at the front or the back, they're not always turned on, and some people just, they like to play around when they're talking, and that's part of the problem.
Or if they're too far away from the microphone. Didn't think that.
This will be relatively quick and brief.
So that's the original, correct?
Yeah, so the stutter in this case is present in the original video, probably because of the method. This was just recorded by Sarah using her laptop, so.
Correct, so I wanna just make it clear, open meetings is not the reason for the stutter that is happening.
Nor the echo, those are present.
So again, as I mentioned before, so the next step to get time with the contract stuff would to work with Chad Trice to actually put that recording click on his section.
Correct.
So we would know exactly what we're getting, because we didn't look, I don't know if you looked at it yet, but the old video versus this video.
He's got the old video.
Oh, he does have.
Yeah, this is the original.
I have the original.
Yeah, this is what I asked.
Good job,
Well, and the reason why I'm just saying is I just don't want supervisors to think that open meeting made the stutters, made all of those things. It's our software on our end that we need to just do some cleanup on.
That's just because it was recorded sort of ad hoc.
Correct.
Yeah.
But just to be fair though, we won't know if it's our own hardware issues until we actually have open meetings running through a larger meeting that's a little bit longer.
Right.
So then we'll discover if those are hardware issues or if it was just a recording issue.
So
Because that was recorded plugged straight into our system.
Alright, so in the interest of time, Supervisor Tona, you actually watched it, I appreciate that, so if there's certain things that you think we should have pointed out, why don't we go through those instead of just watching
Yeah.
it verbatim?
2633. Maybe go to 2630. So this is when Supervisor Evans is going to start talking about